Kubernetes for absolute beginners. First, there were hardware servers and data centers. Then, with the launch of EC2, AWS made cloud-based virtual machines the norm for cloud computing. However, in 2014, with the launch of Docker, containers could replace VMs in a much more lightweight package. Containers brought new challenges to cloud computing. They were complex and hard to manage. Organizations had to still figure out security, storage, high availability, and a host of other things that were simpler back in the days of data centers and VMs. VM vendors like VMware provided management consoles with which organizations could easily manage all of their VMs from one place. Containers, on the other hand, are open source. There's no single vendor who could create a management plane for containers. Something had to be developed to better manage containers. Enter container orchestrators. One of the earliest container orchestrators is Apache Mesos. Docker themselves released their own version of a container orchestrator called Docker Swarm. There were multiple efforts by different vendors and open source communities to create the perfect container management platform. Google was the last to the party by introducing a tool called Kubernetes, which was a spin-off of its internal tool called Borg. Google had already been using containers since many years, and they used Borg to manage containers internally. And now they decided to make Borg open source and available to the world under the name Kubernetes. Kubernetes architecture is beyond just containers. In fact, containers are placed in groups called pods, and multiple pods are placed on a single node, and multiple nodes form an entire Kubernetes cluster. This architecture made it a lot easier to manage containers. Now let's look at the key features of Kubernetes. Kubernetes includes intelligent defaults for auto-replication of pods. This means that when one pod fails, Kubernetes automatically replaces it with a new pod, and this results in high availability of infrastructure. Kubernetes automatically load balances traffic across the various pods so that there are no bottlenecks in the network, and that as traffic scales, the system can scale equally. Beyond the individual features of Kubernetes, the ecosystem that surrounds Kubernetes itself is where its real power lies. Kubernetes has a pluggable architecture which enables open source developers or developers in enterprise companies to extend the platform to suit their own needs. The Cloud Native Computing Foundation, or CNCF, is the governing body that oversees the development of Kubernetes and the ecosystem. Let's look at some of the major CNCF tools. Prometheus is the most widely used monitoring tool for Kubernetes. It records monitoring data in the form of time series and allows users to query this data using its own PromQL query language. Istio is a service mesh tool. It helps with managing service-to-service communication in microservices applications. Helm is a package manager for Kubernetes. It allows users to quickly and easily install packages that are readily available in the form of Helm charts. Jaeger is a distributed tracing tool that brings deeper visibility into network requests. Finally, let's look at a couple of types of Kubernetes vendors available today. The top cloud vendors, AWS, Microsoft Azure, and Google Cloud, each have their own flavor of a managed Kubernetes service. They're a great option to get up and running with Kubernetes quickly and to manage Kubernetes at scale. Apart from the big three, there are lots of niche Kubernetes startups such as Rancher, Platform 9, Kubler, and many more. They each have their own take on how to manage Kubernetes, but all are out to solve the same problem of managing Kubernetes and containers better in the cloud. If you enjoyed this video and would like to see more, make sure to hit the subscribe button and the bell icon below.